We have already established that Krishna was a Tamil and he lived in southern Tamil Nadu. We shall now take on the Kauravas. I had already suggested that Kauravas were actually Kurava, stating some examples. Kauravas were mountain people and it is well established fact. More than 2 years ago, I started stating these facts as comment feeds in my videos. Someone who saw my feed sent an email stating that there are temples for Saguni and Duryodhana in Kollam district and those temples are maintained by Kurava community of Kerala. He sent the pictures of those temples also. It was a shot in the arm for me and I was awaiting a chance to visit those temples. About 6 months ago, along with my friends, I went on a rapid touring assignment to Kerala. We entered Kerala through Palghat and exited via Thiruvananthapuram. It was my first tourist trip to Kerala. We went to major temples on this route with the Duryodhana temple as focus. After our visit to Chottanikara Bhagavati Amman temple, we proceeded to Duryodhana temple. What we are seeing is the Poruvali Peruviruthi Malanada temple for Duryodhana. Before proceeding to describe the temple, I would read out what the Wikipedia article says about Duryodhana and this temple. Before reading out, I would describe some technical words without which you cannot understand the passage that I am going to read out. Parayar. This is the generic name of people who live on the mountain. A mountain range is called Varai in Tamil and hence mountain dwellers were called Varayar, which deformed to Parayars. Vedars. Among the Parayars, some people were professionally called as Vedars and it means hunters. Among the Parayars, the people who were having hunting as their main profession were called Vedars. Kuravar. Among Parayars, some people who pursued education through Gurukula system and practiced medicine, science, astronomy, astrology were called Kuravar. The Kuravar is a mountain word for Siddha, the intellectual workers. The word Kuravar originated from Kuru. How? The educated people would be teaching or preaching others too. Kuru means preach in Tamil. This word originated from the sound ku, which is made by kakku. Being educated people, kings originated from the Kuravars. The Kuravars were Siddha and the most prominent and elderly one among them became the king. Shiva was the first Kurava and first king, that is Apupan of humanity. Hence, Kuravas were the educated and governing tribe among the general populace called Parayars. Malanada. It is a Sanskritized Tamil name called Malai Nadu. Malai means mountain in Tamil. Mal plus I, Malai. Mal means black and I means beauty. Hence, Malai means black beauty as mountains are black. Nadu. Nadu is a region with a well demarcated boundary and ruled by a king. I would provide very interesting etymology of the word Nadu at the end part of this video. Hence, Malai Nadu means a mountain kingdom. Kottaram. It is the name of the very ancient palace of the Kurava kings. Kattu plus Aram, Kattaram, Kottaram. Kattu currently means build but originated from tying. Ancient structures were made by tying wooden poles to make a shed. Aram means circle or round. Ancient structures were made by tying wooden poles on hay strands as a round structure shown here. Variations of these Kottarams were the original palaces of these regional kings who administered the respective region from these kinds of palaces. Appappan. It is also pronounced by Kuravas as Appupan. It literally means grandfather. Appa means father in Tamil and Appappa is the father of father, that is grandfather. Though it literally means grandfather, Appappan is the general title of the priest and ruler of each Malai Nadu. The ruler of each Malanadu was also called Urali. I have already stated that Kuravas were Siddha, the intellectual class, and obviously the Kurava tribe was the ruling tribe among the general populace called Parayars. Armed with the understanding about the technical terms, we shall now read out the passage from Wikipedia. Myth unravels. As part of his efforts to trace out the Pandavas in exile, Duryodhana traversed the forest in the south and reached Malanada hill. By the time he was very much tired and went to a nearby house on the northwest of Malanada and asked for drinking water. It was Kaduthamaseri Kottaram, where Malanada Appupan, the priest and ruler of the land, was staying. An elderly woman gave him toddy, which was customary at the time as a mark of respect. The king enjoyed the drink, but realized after seeing the Kurathali worn by the woman that she belonged to an untouchable lower caste by the name Kurava. The king consoled himself and appreciated the divinity of the place and its people who possessed supernatural powers, Siddha. Thereafter, in furtherance of his Rajadharma, the king sat on the hill and worshipped Lord Shiva, praying for the welfare of his people. As an act of charity, he gave away 100 acres of agricultural land and paddy fields as freehold to Devasthanam. Even now, the land tax of the above property is being levied in the name Duryodhanan. From the passage that I read out, we shall infer the following. There was a general perception among the people of Kerala that Duryodhanan came here searching for Pandavas who were in exile for 12 years. Obviously, they think that Duryodhanan came here from Delhi region of North India as claimed by Sanskrit Mahabharata. This wrong notion was forced into these people through the Sanskrit scriptures. We would soon prove that Duryodhanan belonged to this region only and he did not come here from North India. This passage also says that the mountain people were Kauravas and also that Appupan was the priest king of these people and their country was called Malanada. Appupan lived in Kottaram, which should have been the administrative headquarters of each Malanadu. This passage describes that Kauravas were of untouchable class. This is utter butter nonsense. The notion of untouchability never existed in India 5,000 years ago. It was introduced by the Jewish Brahmins about 3,000 years ago in the North India and most probably only 1800 years ago in the South India. The main point of this video is that Duryodhanans were not North Indians and they belonged to Cheranadu of South India. We would see now how we discovered it. Once we saw Duryodhanan temple, I was taken aback that there was no idol worship. It was a cultural shock for me. Until then, I had been thinking that idol worship was universally followed in India, especially South India. I was proven wrong here. There is no idol worship among Kauravas of Kerala, one of the very ancient societies of the world. Here, instead of an idol, there is a raised platform which these people worshipped as Duryodhanan. This raised platform is being called by these people as Altara. Al plus Tara, Altara. Al means not and Tara means Tarai in Tamil, which means floor or ground. Altara means that place is not floor but a raised structure. It looks like a symbolic symmetry. Obviously, Duryodhanan was one of their forefathers and it might be a symbolic burial place. They basically worship their forefathers as Altara, offering toddy, silk, tender coconut, betel leaves, areca nut, and black cock. The silk they offer in two colors, red and black. Red represents Shiva and black represents Kali or Kottravai. We then found that there was another worshipping place called Kottaram nearby. We went down to that place. That Kottaram was called Kaduthamaseri Kottaram. We met Mr. Viswan in the Kottaram and inquired about that place. He has some knowledge of English but was not fluent in it. However, he was smart enough to convey that Duryodhanas were Kauravas and it was only the Arya Brahmins who called them as Kaurava. When he uttered these words, my friends looked at me with an approving smile and congratulated me that I have correctly guessed that it was Kaurava which deformed to Kaurava. He also told me the prevailing notion among the Kauravas regarding the Duryodhanan temple. It seems Duryodhanan came to meet the Appupan in the Kottaram. The purpose of the meeting was to plan to kill the Pandavas through supernatural powers of the Appupan. This is called Nidal Yuddham. Nidal means shadow. Hence, Nidal Yuddham means shadow warfare. The Appupan of the Kottaram did not agree to this and admonished Duryodhana. According to folklore, Duryodhana stayed in this place where the temple is for a few months in an effort to make the Appupan agree to this Nidal Yuddham. This Duryodhana temple was said to have been built in honor of him. Mr. Viswan was all the time stressing that Duryodhana approached Appupan for Nidal Yuddham, for which Appupan did not agree to initially. This proves that the mountain people were originally good people and it was Saguni who was responsible for corrupting these people to wage shadow war and ultimately full-scale war to destroy Pandavas. The Niral Yuddham folklore clearly supports the idea that Saguni was an outsider. We have already established that Saguni was a Jew who came here for trade. Thus, Mr. Viswan confirmed that the Kaurava name came from Kurava, which was my original surmise, and he belonging to Kurava community doubly establishes this fact. Through Mr. Viswan, we heard for the first time a new terminology called Niral Yuddham. We know it was Saguni who planned all the shadow warfare, and from Mr. Viswan we came to know that they were played without the full support of the Kurava community. What Mr. Viswan told us next presently stunned all of us. He told us that there are 101 Malanadu in Kollam, Pathanmita, Alappuzha districts of Kerala. I originally surmised quite earlier that there should have been 100 Kurava kings called as Kauravas who fought against the 5 Pandya kings. This idea of mine has now been validated by Mr. Viswan. I was absolutely happy. We then requested Mr. Viswan that we would soon come back to Malanadu again and he should take us to as many Malanadu as possible. He told us that of the 101 Malanadu, he has researched and seen 51 so far and he was on the search for another 50. He agreed to show us as many as possible among the 51 he had been to, depending upon the time that we shall be able to allocate for the same. We then parted from him for that moment. 2 months later, we again travelled to Malanadu specifically for that purpose. Mr. Viswan now accompanied us for 5 full days and showed us 25 Malanadu. When we visited these Malanadu, we have observed the following common points. Every Malanada has a structure called Kottaram, which was the governing headquarters of the king of the Malanada. Near every Kottaram, there was a temple for Duryodhana. Everywhere, they were worshipping an Altara as a representation of their forefathers. Obviously, there was no idol worship anywhere. In some places, we have seen Lingam on Altara, and in some places a bull or both. I was stunned by the fact that there was no idol worship among the Kauravas, despite the fact that there is idol worship elsewhere in Kerala itself. The mountain community had been an isolated community who retained their very ancient customs. It means that before deluge, mankind did not worship idols. We would see in a different video that idol worship was brought in by Murugan for the first time to humanity after the deluge. Hence, the non-idol worship theology of the so-called Abrahamic religions like Judaism and Islam originated from Lemuria itself, and it was not discovered by the Jews. When Noah left Lemuria, that is the Kumari continent, he carried with him Shiva and Kali, but there wasn't idol worship. The Jehovah or Yahweh is nothing but Shiva. Jehovah deformed from Yakovah. Yah plus Kovan, Yakovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. Yah means south and Kovan means king. Hence, Yakovah means southern king, and Dakshinamurti, another name of Shiva, also means southern king. Hence, whether the Jews are aware or not, that Jehovah is actually the ancient Dakshinamurti of submerged Kumari continent. In Islam, the name of the first prophet is Isa, the ancient name of Shiva. Isa plus Lama, Isalama, Isalama, Islam. Here, Lama means prophet. Islam means Isa the prophet. Hence, worshipping an invisible God is not a discovery by the Jews, and it was the worship that prevailed before deluge, and the Jews of today are actually worshipping Shiva without an image. The Altara worship culture of the Kurva people should have been the continuation of the very ancient culture which should have existed in pre-Diluvian times. Altara being the raised platform, Noah should have carried this culture with him, and obviously the worshipping place of Jewish synagogue is altar. Mr. Viswan knows the whereabouts of 51 Malanada, and we could see the 25. Substantiating the statement of Mr. Viswan that there are 101 Malanada in Kerala, there is a town named Noorunadu where we had lunch on one of the days of the tour. Noorunadu means 100 nations. This town is situated in Pathanmita district. The very existence of this town with the name Noorunadu proves the claim of Mr. Viswan that there are 101 Malanadu in Kerala, and substantiating it further, we have visited 25 of them and confirmed his claim. We confirmed his claim because of the 25 Malanada we had seen, 4 of them belonged to Duryodhana, Saguni, Duchadana, and Duchalai, one each. That means the rest of the 101 Malanada should belong to the rest of the Kauravas. From our discussion, it is obvious that there are two versions of the story which links Duryodhana with Kauravas. According to one, Duryodhana came to Malanada in search of Pandavas who were in exile. According to the Kaurava version of the story, Duryodhana came to meet the Apupan of the Kaduthamasari Kottaram to help him the Nidal Yuddham that he was waging against the Pandavas. If either of the story is true, there shall just be only one Malanada in Kerala which retains the saga of Duryodhana. But there are 101 Malanada in Kerala, each of which is having a Duryodhana temple. This proves that these 100 Kaurava kings of the 100 Malanada were actually the 100 Kaurava of Mahabharata. Hence, these 100 Duryodhanas weren't the sons of Dhritarashtra as claimed by Sanskrit Mahabharata. In the history of mankind, a single lady had never given birth to 100 sons. The Mahabharata episode relating to the birth of 101 children to Gandhari is a disgusting nonsense. They say that Gandhari conceived but could not deliver even after 2 years of pregnancy. Dhritarashtra condemns Gandhari for the delay in delivery. Exasperated, she asks her palace maids to beat her womb with ulakkai. She then delivers a mass of flesh. The sage Vyasa divides the flesh into 101 parts and places them each in 101 earthen pots. Ghee is poured into each pot and kept for 2 more years. When the lids of the pots are opened after 2 years, each pot has a fully grown normal baby. Only sick minds shall write such stories, and only imbeciles shall believe in such stories. When they looted Mahabharata from Tamils, they couldn't even replace the original history with some intelligible story. Hence, Dhritarashtra wasn't the father of the 100 Duryodhanas. He is one of the kings of the 100 Malanadu who assembled the rest of them in order to wage war against Pandyas. The verifiable proof for the same is the existence of the 101 Malanada in Kerala. Not only that, there are 4 exclusive Malanada temples for 4 important characters, and they are 1. Poruvadi Peruviruthi Malanada, where Duryodhana is worshipped. This Malanada should have led the war, and his king should have actually been the Dhritarashtra, who was actually one of the 100 Duryodhanas. The title of this temple itself is suggesting this. Peruviruthi means great expansion. Obviously, Dhritarashtra expanded his army by assembling the forces of all the 100 Malanada. The name Dhritarashtra itself means the great assembler, and the etymology of the name had already been done. The name of the region is Poruvadi, which means war path. Obviously, after assembling the forces, the war entourage started from this place. That's why this place is called Poruvadi, which means war path. Hence, the title of the temple itself proves my discovery that Duryodhana of this Malanada was actually the Dhritarashtra, and the existence of temples for Karnan and Dronar in the vicinity of this Duryodhana temple conclusively establishes the above mentioned fact. There are in total 14 sub-shrines for this Duryodhana temple. 2. Pavitreswaram Malanada, where Saguni is worshipped. I would read out the Wikipedia page which describes about Pavitreswaram. It is believed that during Mahabharata battle, Saguni travelled across the country along with his nephews, the Kauravas. When they reached the place where the temple is situated, the Kauravas divided their weapons among them. Since then, the place came to be known as Pahuteswaram, which became Pavitreswaram. This passage does not make any sense at all. What is meant by dividing their weapons, and why they divided here? Obviously, these people do not remember their ancient history well. But the place name shall help us decode history. Let us look at the name of this place. Pahu plus Iswaram, Pahuteswaram. Pahu means divide. Iswaram means the place was named after Isa. If this place had a weapon making factory, then the Kauravas would have divided the weapons available at the warehouse among them in preparation for the war. That makes sense. To prove my point, the name of the district where Pahuteswaram is located is called Kollam. We would not discuss the stupid etymology which says that Kollam means pepper in Sanskrit and hence the port exporting the pepper was called Kollam. On the other hand, Kollar means blacksmiths. Blacksmiths make weapons. The region which accommodated Kollars was called Kollam. There is a correct etymology of Kollam, which stands for weapon making industry, the weapons of which were divided among the Kauravas, and that shall explain the name Pahu in Pahuteswaram. However, I think that Pahuteswaram means lot more than that. The very name Pahuteswaram actually means the place where smelting industry existed. How do I say this? The smelting industry supplies raw material, that is iron, for making weapons. It was Ishvara who developed smelting technology and he gave it as Rigveda. Kindly watch the earth-shaking facts on the 4 Veda published recently in the channel. Rigveda dealt with dividing iron ore to produce elemental iron. Pahuteswaram has 2 syllables, Pahu and Iswaram. Pahu stands for Veda, as both these words mean divide. Ruk, which stands for melting in Rigveda, is replaced by Ishvar, who developed this process. Hence, Pahuteswaram was the name of the smelting place producing iron by dividing the ore. Do I have a proof to show that Kollam district smelted iron? The wiki page shown here says remains of molten iron were excavated from Kollam region. Ingots were also excavated. Obviously, there were smelting industry here during the Mahabharata times, and the name Pahuteswaram kept that info in encrypted form. Hence, weapons and the raw material for weapons were made in this region. Saguni might have been in charge of overseeing weapons fabrication, and obviously they have his temple here. 3. Kunniradattu Malanada, where Duchala is worshipped. Kunnu plus Neer plus Adattu. Kunniradattu. Duchale was named after water and her kingdom is also named after water. Very surprising. 4. Yennaseri Malanada, where Duchatana is worshipped. The existence of the 4 temples suggests that these characters originally belonged to this place, and Sagni and Duryodhana temple names additionally proves that weapons were fabricated and war marching started respectively from these places. Obviously, they might not have marched from here to Delhi, which is about 3000 km from here, but somewhere nearby. That nearby place might have existed near Tirunelveli, the abode of Pandyas, which lies about 150 km from Duryodhana temple. Hence, the genuine Kurukshetra was situated somewhere around Tirunelveli. Etymology of Kurukshetra. The Kauravas were the Western Ghat mountain people. The Pandyas were the ground people doing agriculture near the eastern shore. To wage war against the Pandyas, Kauravas went down from the mountains and assembled at the theatre of the war, which was a plain on the ground. The Tamil word for ground is Tharai. Ser means join or assemble. Hence, Ser plus Tharai, Ser plus Tra, Sertra, Kshetra. Hence, Kshetra means an assembling ground. If the assembling ground happens to be a temple, then that place is called Punya Kshetram. Here, the Kauravas assembled on the ground for the purpose of war. Kaurava plus Kshetra, Kurakshetra, Kurukshetra. Hence, Kurukshetra means the ground where the Kaurava people assembled, obviously for war. Etymology of Ser. Ser is a deformed word from the original called Yeru, which means climb. The climbing people would be reaching their destination. Hence, Ser also means reach. As group of people were climbing the mountain in search of their new residence and ultimately reached their destination together, Ser has a connotation meaning assemble. That's why mountain residential localities were called Seri. That's how we see places like Kalamaseri, Tangaseri, Yennaseri, etc. in the mountain region. That's how in Tamil Nadu too, the residential localities of Parayars who came down from the mountain to live on the ground were named Seri. Seri is the place where mountain people reside. Etymology of Nadu. Nadu is the governing region of a king, small or big. This governing region is demarcated by a boundary identified by posts in all the 8 terrestrial directions. These posts were originally wooden poles beaten into the ground. These posts were in the shape of tongue so that they shall be beaten into the earth. Hence, Tamil word meaning implant a post is derived as in the following. Na plus du, nadu. Na is shortening of na, which means a post here as it looks like tongue. Du is the shortening of the word idu, which means keep or implant. The word for erecting a post is derived as follows. Na plus it, not. Hence, Nadu is a bounded region demarcated by erected posts. In Tamil, எல்லைக்கற்கள் நாட்டப்பட்ட பகுதி நாடு.